Hello guys, in this video we are going to discuss the solution of the problem non-overlapping intervals. So let us look at the problem statement. The problem statement says given a 2D intervals of representing interval where intervals I equals to start I, end I, return the minimum number of intervals you need to remove to make the rest of the intervals non-overlapping. So for instance, if this is the interval array which is given to us, as we can see, if we remove 1, 3 from this interval, then all the other intervals becomes non-overlapping, because of which we are returning 1 over here. So that's about the problem statement, folks. Now let us discuss the solution of this problem. So the general idea behind solving this problem is we are going to sort the array on the basis of a starting time. Once we have sorted the array on the basis of a starting time, then we are going to check whether the current interval is an overlapping interval or not. And the way we will be able to identify whether a current interval is an overlapping interval is by checking whether the starting time of the current interval is lesser than the end time of the previous interval, which can be written as the current interval starting time is less than previous interval end time. If this is the case, then either previous interval or the current interval is an overlapping interval and one of them needs to be removed. And the way we are going to choose which interval to remove is using this formula, which is previous end time is equals to minimum of previous end time or the current interval. So that's the brief idea about this solution, folks. Now let us take an example to understand this. So let us say this is the interval array which is given to us. So the first thing which we are going to do is we are going to sort the array. After sorting the array looks something like this. Now pictorially we can represent this interval array in this form. So let us say this is the time series which is given to us. The first interval is 1, 2. This interval is represented over here. So let us name this as I1. The second interval is 1, 4. This interval is represented over here and let us name this interval as I2. The third interval is 2, 4. Let us name this as I3. And this is the last interval. Let us name this as I4. So this is how the intervals are being arranged on the number line. Now in order to make this interval as non-overlapping, we have two options. Either we can remove I1 and I3 or we can remove I2. If we remove I1 and I3, our count will be equals to 2. Whereas if we remove I2, our count will be equals to 1. So in this case, we will go with this approach, which is by removing I2. And the way we will be able to identify this is by selecting the interval whose end time is larger, because that is the interval which is going to overlap with most of the other intervals. The smaller interval is not going to overlap with other intervals, because of which the condition to update our previous end time will be equals to minimum of previous end time or intervals I, 1. So that's the discussion of solution, folks. Now let us discuss the pseudocode of this problem. So let us say we want to find out minimum removal and an intervals array is given to us. So let us take answer equals to 0 for this and let us sort the intervals on the basis of starting time. Once we have sorted this, let us set our previous end time. So our previous end time will be equals to intervals 0, 1, the end time of the first interval. And then we are going to iterate on the rest of the elements. So for I in range of 1, len of intervals. And then we are going to check if this is an overlapping interval. And the way we will be able to check this is if I, 0 is less than previous end time. If this is the case, then this is an overlapping interval and then one of the intervals needs to be removed, because of which we are increasing our answer by 1. And now let us choose which interval to remove. Well, the way we are choosing this is previous of end time is equals to minimum of previous of end time, current interval, which is intervals I, 1. If this is not an overlapping interval, then in such case the previous end time will be updated by the current end time. So previous end time will be equals to intervals I, 1. And towards the end, we just have to return our answer. So that's the pseudocode, folks. Now let us see how we have implemented this in Python and C++. So first let us look at the Python implementation. In the Python implementation, we have answer equals to 0, then we are sorting the intervals, and then we are setting the previous end time, which is equals to first interval end time. Then we are iterating on the rest of the element. If this is an overlapping interval, then we are increasing our answer by 1 and we are updating our end time. Otherwise, if this is not an overlapping interval, then in such case end time is equals to current end time, and towards the end we are returning answer. So that's the Python implementation, folks. Now let us submit our solution. So our Python solution got accepted. Now let us look at the C++ implementation. So the C++ implementation is also the same, folks. Over here we are sorting the intervals on the basis of starting time, then we are setting our end time, and then we are iterating on the rest of the elements. If this is an overlapping interval, then we are increasing our answer by 1 and updating our end time. Otherwise, if this is not an overlapping interval, then end time will be equals to current interval end time, and towards the end we are returning answer. So that's the C++ implementation, folks. Now let us submit our solution. So our C++ solution also got accepted. That is all from this video, folks. In case if you have any question or comment regarding this video, please feel free to use the comment section and I'll try to address them. Thank you.